What's up, college football addicts? Today we are talking about something that could radically change this sport, and I think it would change it for the better. But I'll lay out the facts, and then you tell me in the comments whether you think this would be better or worse for college football. Right now, it sounds like there's some reports out. Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports said that some automatic qualifiers could increase in the coming years when we look at the college football playoffs. He said more automatic qualifiers could, one, increase the value of the regular season as teams jockey in league standings, and number two, limit the subjectivity from the selection committee. Listen, if you're a Florida State fan or a Georgia fan, you understand that the subjectivity from the playoff committee likely cost you a spot in the playoff last year. And so you may be in favor of this. However, a high number of automatic qualifiers per league could also remove the incentive to hold a conference championship game. We are very much moving toward a model where conference championship games are going to be irrelevant. Because divisions have been eliminated, it's very unlikely that you're going to get a conference champion that's not highly ranked in the Big 10 or the SEC. Now, conference championships in the ACC and the Big 12 will mean everything. But in the Big 2, they'll mean less and less. They may mean a first-round bye. They may mean an automatic qualifier, but you're going to get in if you lose the Big 10 championship game. There will be very few situations where you don't. He went on to tweet, in a story in December, Yahoo Sports explored the future of conference championship games and in an expanded playoff era. Several high-ranking college leaders acknowledged that the league title games should be re-examined. What do they mean by re-examined? Essentially eliminated, gotten rid of. There's a lot of reasons why we should consider getting rid of conference championship weekend. Number one, you've got a major risk of watering down the playoffs. Teams could meet 3 times in a season. In fact, teams like Michigan and Ohio State, who play at the end of the year, I don't expect that too many times Florida State and Clemson would both get in, but teams like Florida State and Clemson, if they're in the ACC, could theoretically play 3 times in a year. Alabama and Georgia could theoretically play 3 times in a year. Texas, Oklahoma could theoretically play 3 times in a year. And going back to that Ohio State-Michigan one, you could play the last game of the year. You could then play again in the conference championship game. And then you could then play again one more time in the first round of the playoffs. It waters down. You don't need to meet that many times in a season. You also just don't need to see these teams over and over and over again. The epic idea that we have, though, is to drop the conference championship games completely and play an extra week of football. That's right, a 13-game season. Now, some people will say that's too many games. But is it too many games for the 8 to 10 teams who are already playing in a conference championship? They'd be playing the same amount of games. And if they can play that many, well, why can the teams who aren't in a conference championship play a 13th game? No one questions player safety because of conference championship weekend. So why would we not just add that game for all teams? Why would we not add a 13th game for everyone? It's a win for so many different entities. It's a win for the fans. Do you want to see your team play an extra game every single year? Maybe if your team's terrible, you would like the suffering to end. But for the most part, we want to see college football. We want to see extra games. We want to see as much football as is possible. It feels like the fall is over in a snap. It feels like the offseason lasts forever. It's February right now, and we're dying for football. The fans win with more games. All teams are included, though, not just conference championships. So you get more fans enjoying epic games. The SEC's talking about going to a 9-game schedule. The Big 12's already there. Most conferences are already leaning that way. And so then you get to have more rivalries back in your games. If Florida State goes to the Big 10, how do they play all of their Big 10 games and play Miami and play Florida every year and then have your cupcake game or two to get tuned up? Well, that's going to be tough with 12 games. But you go to 13 and you keep some of those rivalries. You keep some of those epic, historic rivalries intact. It's a win for the players. It's more time to showcase their skills, their talent, and players ultimately want to play. It's even more of a benefit to them when collective bargaining comes around and they get to say, we're playing an extra game. We deserve XYZ. It's a win for the teams. It's a win for the programs. It's more money for more games, more money for the local economies, more money for the actual revenue that happens for the athletic director and the athletic programs. Playing an extra game and getting rid of the conference championship weekend is the move. It's the way that this should go. It's really not even a question. You can bring up player safety. Again, no one does that for the championship games. Nobody does that for the people who are playing on the first Saturday in December. It's a win for local economies. It's a win for the programs. It's a win for the fans. It's a win for everyone. And it keeps our sport from getting watered down. It keeps Michigan and Ohio State from playing 3 times in a row. It keeps teams like Alabama and Georgia from having 3 different games, 2 rematches. Even just one rematch has been a lot when teams have had to play each other, and there's been whining and moaning and complaining about Alabama, LSU, that 21-0 boring game. Obviously, the Alabama-Georgia rematch was good, but there were complaints about that. We don't need that. It's a win for everyone to get rid of the conference championship weekend and add a game, and it's a win for the playoff as well because we have less watered-down games. Conference championships will mean something as far as a first-round bye, but as we go to a 14 or 16-team playoff in a couple of years anyway, which we'll cover that soon, those are going to go away for a lot of teams as well, too. What are your thoughts? Let's talk about this down in the comments. Make sure that you're subscribed here to College Football Addiction. But this radical way that the sport can change is going to be huge for college football, and hopefully the right thing is done. We don't just eliminate conference championship weekend and no longer have it. We actually add a game to our sport. What does that do? Well, it's a win for everybody. It keeps it from being watered down, and it gets even more people excited and addicted to college football. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments on this. Let's talk about it. And thank you, as always, for watching College Football Addiction.